Ah, thank you. I unmuted the wrong button. I opened up another application and another mixer box came on. Apparently, I can't just click the third one and expect it to work every time. All right, thank you. Welcome. I'm Valgan. I do Udon development and normal C# development. So I work primarily in Unity, and today we're actually working on a commission of mine that focuses on having a modular UI menu that you can place in your world and be all the controls that you like. This isn't like you can make a dozen different menus or things like that. This is largely just, this is your one control everything menu. And yeah, it's finally coming to a point where I'm actually happy with what the design is starting to look like. I've re-architected this thing not a dozen times, but is getting close to a dozen times. And I need to stop making this thing just keep going on and on and on. Follow your work a lot. Awesome. Thanks. But yeah, so the gist of this system is you have your pages over here, or I guess these are tabs, I called them. You have your root tabs. Each tab has a page, and each page has elements on it. Think of the layout of like Discord, where you have servers on the left, channels or individuals in the middle, and the actual chat on the right. Excuse me. Obviously, I'm not actually trying to make Discord. That would be awful in VR chat. Doable, but awful. But yeah, the idea right now is there's a bunch of pieces that get put together via instructions. So if I click on World UI, the root object, and move it up from behind my head, actually this might be a little annoying. Let's move this out of the way. There we go. So I have this custom menu that I'm working on here to build the menu. So you have the prefab library, which is just a asset of all of the different prefabs that are used for your toggle, your slider, your drop down, and stuff like that. And the root, which is just the rect transform that it puts everything into. So for the tabs, you can add or remove tabs here. We just go with our single one for settings. You can set the name and the sprite here, and each tab can have as many pages as you like. So we have the toggles and the, well, not toggles page right now. I'll just move not toggles on top just for some layering issues. But toggles right here, we have the title, icon, description, and all of the elements. So right now, it has a toggle in it, which is just this, and a slider. But if I want another one, I can hit plus and then select a button. And buttons don't have any special features right now, they're just a label. But a slider has all these values, and a toggle has these values. And I'm actually really happy that I got this development menu tool to the point that it's at. It has taken a very long time. Here, let's actually just do this. So I'm just gonna prototype. I'll just hide that one. But yeah, if I click on this and just hit the generate button, it builds it all out. It puts the tab buttons here. The general idea of this is there's two different types of assets. There are, let me click into the prefabs page. There we go. There are pages and there are elements. And elements are just the things that get placed on a page. So we have the, let's see here. Yeah. So this root object here is a tab group, but it's a page. It is a page that supports tabs. And tab pages have, well, the tab object asset here for where tabs get put, and the pages asset for where like other pages get put. Then settings page is a page that is a tab page. It's just a different shaped one, but it also has its tabs and pages section. So if we click into here, we actually have a few things enabled here. So we have both of these pages, but if we enable not toggles page, it doesn't have any elements, so it's just empty. But the big one is the toggles page, which is the one that actually has all the stuff in it. You'll note that this toggle here doesn't really have anything, and that's because we basically left it completely blank. So let's set it to, this is a toggle. Wow, this is such a toggle. Generate. There we go. Then if we wanted to have a sprite, we can select light bulb, I guess, and hit generate, and it pops that in. Obviously, the shaping on this is gone wrong. So let me quick fix this. This needs both min and preferred to be set to the same value. So bonk. There we go. I think I did that previously, but I guess it just reset at some point. But yeah, let's rearrange my inspector here a bit so I can actually use Unity again. What I am curious about though is for posters. Oh, okay. So the posters one is being told render a white square. That's not just there being a missing texture there. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's see here. We have toggles, we have sliders, we have drop downs. Hello, hey, welcome. I've just been showing off the tooling for the new menu creator system that I've been working on. Now, if we pop over to Rider here, there's an absolute crap ton of code for everything. And one of the ways that we get these nice drop downs for toggle, drop down, and slider is whenever I make something like my World UI slider, I need to have a builder menu element class right next to it. This isn't like an Udon thing. This is entirely an editor scripting thing. Actually, this generator doesn't use Udon at all. Since the generator only runs in Unity, it doesn't need to. It just needs to be able to hook up the Udon things during its builder process. It doesn't use Udon itself, which massively speeds up things and gives me more options. But yeah, for every component, like my WUI slider here, we need a builder slider. And that's the representation of this slider asset, or there we go. This slider here in our builder. So when I click on this, I want a slider. There we go. Yeah. So I can go ahead and change this to builder toggle, and this is now going to spawn a toggle instead. But I want this to be a slider, so we'll leave that. What I actually just finished before the stream started was the layout stripper. Oh, actually, this isn't the same name. WUI layout stripper. There we go. The general idea here is the contents of this menu will never change. They will always be exactly the same in all situations once you're in VRChat. So we don't need all of the layout elements or layout groups or content size filters or any of those components that would otherwise be causing your menu to think a few times and chug around. And we can drop all of that performance cost by just baking all of their positions and offsets right here and deleting all of them during the build process, which is a tremendous boost to performance of any menu, because the fewer rebuilds that you can make your UI do, the better. All right, but with that built, I guess we'll have to start adding a new feature. Let's see, what would be a good one to jump into? We could we might want to make a, oh, what's it called? Okay, so I'm trying to think. It's like a drop down, where you have your 10 different options or whatever, but they're always visible, and it's like a radio menu, I think is what they call it, where there's a bunch of things that you just click. Oh my god, why is my 3D character blinking so aggressively? Maybe I just need to calibrate with my eyes closed? Doesn't seem to be helping. It must just be some glare on my glasses. All right. But yeah, so I never remember what those are actually called, but I think I've called them group selects. I could be wrong. It is essentially a tab. So this stuff over here. Yeah, so we have this tab group here, and I may in fact just use this. This might just work perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and set it up actually. Ooh, but I will need it to know its own instantiatable child, I think. I think that would make the most sense. Probably. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll have a so we have WUI tab group. We're going to make a new script called WUI group select. And it's going to be almost identical to the tab select one. Well, the group tab. So much so that we're going to inherit directly from it and maybe add 2 functions. They're going to be that similar. Let's actually just go ahead and close a bunch of things we don't need right now. WUI tab group. And let's snag these things here. Grab the namespace. Tab group. Bonk. Ooh, one thing I do want to show off is that all of these things, while they're using a base class of WUI elements, they're using an inherited one called WUI bindable. So this is essentially just a class that allows me to bind a float, an int, or a bool value to basically any of my UI elements. And binding targets are the things that get told, hey, this thing has had its value change, update these things. So that's how the tabs actually work. The tab group is informed, hey, I have been clicked on the second object. My index is now 2. Update all people who are listening to this right now. And the thing that's listening to it is the tab page. So once that value changes, it knows to enable a different page based on that index. It makes everything really modular, and everything can be reused really easily everywhere. It has not been easy getting everything to be easy. This is probably the 4th total iteration of this system. There's been a lot of minor adjustments to everything, but this is the 4th major rewrite of it to try to get it where I want it to. Fortunately, the commissioner on this has been very lenient on the time, and primarily wants this as a tool that exists for a lot of people to use. And fortunately, that doesn't mean they have a huge hard deadline on it, though obviously they'd like it done sooner than later, because obviously that's how commissioning someone works. But yeah, so we'll be actually setting this up and getting it going. So we have the bindable stuff and the WUI tab group. So we have our WUI group select. Let's go ahead and build out the stuff for it. We'll actually start with the raw UI itself once Unity compiles. Drink some water, actually. There we go. So let's swap over to the prototype one. And I have 2 base elements here. So WUI element horizontal and WUI element vertical. These are both things that don't actually do anything on their own, but are just a structure to start making my UI with. And I think WUI element vertical will make the most sense for having multi-select or individual selection child elements. Excuse me. So I'll go ahead and duplicate that. And we will add the WUI group select onto here and populate all the values. So we have our icon, we have our title label, we have our description label, and see, tab container, that will be content here. Tab buttons, this will be built during the instantiation process. So let's see here. What do I want to do? So WUI group select. Let's go ahead and WUI drop down. Sure. Let's reference this. So we'll create a new reference class up here for builder group select. And what kind of values will this need? I guess a list of strings will probably be fine. Public list of string entries. All right, so now we'll go ahead and actually, now that I've created this class, we can, without any additional changes, use it in the creator window. So if this compiles and I scroll up, you can click on world menu here, settings, not toggles. I can add a new entry and select group select. There we go. So this has the icon, the title, the description, but now it has an entries section. So we'll just have Canada, America, and Mexico. There we go. So when we get this set up, this should, actually I should probably give it a title. Countries, there we go. Select from some countries. There we go. So when we build, this should use this prefab that I built somewhere here. And it should generate everything. But we need to actually do that. So let's go ahead and we'll rename this from WUI element vertical 1 to just WUI group select. There it is. That is a prefab variant, so changes to the root ones will pass out into it. And we can go to our element library here and tell it that we need a new one. So we'll have a public WUI group select prefab. Now we can go down in our builder here to the function that actually does the building. And we iterate through all the different elements and check to see what type the class is. So we can actually just go ahead, duplicate this, and swap the words drop down with group select and do group select. Setting group select prefab. No, we just want group select prefab. Oh, actually, I have been calling these setting. Okay. Okay. I guess it makes sense because these are the ones that show up in the actual drop down, and all of these aren't intended to. Alright. Set element generics is just setting all of the values that are matched by all of them, which is the icon, title, and description. But now, when we create this WUI group select, what we also need to do is populate all the fields in it. So we could do this here. I think this would probably make sense. Entry. Should this be a toggle or a button? I think it's just going to be a button. Yeah, I think it'll work fine. That'll be... Oops. Entry, so entry prefab. So here we'll, for each our group select entries. Entry. And we'll do setting group. No, I need to get this from the library. Library.setting group entry prefab. There we go. Instantiate prefab. This is a custom extension method that I've actually built out for this, which just instantiates the prefab. But it does it only if it is a real prefab, not a scene asset. That way you can actually use the prefab to instantiate stuff. So what I need to do is pass this two things. The parent that it's going to, which will be we group select dot container. Yeah, tab container, I guess that's right. And the name of it. So this will be group entry. Actually, yeah, just entry. I think that is it for now. So var boolean entry equals this button. There's that there. Then boolean entry dot set title. Actually, we can just do the set generics there. Set element generics boolean entry. Actually, can we do that? Actually, yeah, that we're gonna have to change that. We can't use a string for this because instead of that, we'll actually use a builder button. Actually, I'm not sure this will work the way I want it to, because I have a custom list drawer for all of these. The reason that I do that is because otherwise, if you were to click new on the bottom of a list, it would duplicate that class, and that sucks because that means that you suddenly have two fields that are referencing the same class. So when you change one value in one, you change it in the other, which is much less than ideal. So I think we might forego this part here and just manually do it. Should be fine. See, boolean entry dot set title. Yeah, just call that entry. I don't think it would make sense to need icons on group selects. It would be nice, but actually, maybe that does make sense to do. Yeah. Okay. So builder menu element. Builder element. I think we'll just have a struct here. Public struct group select entry. Yeah. Public string title description. Actually, I don't think we need a description. There's not going to be any room for it. Well, okay. Nope. Someone could redesign this in a way that there would be room. So I'll leave that exposed. And public sprite, not spring joint, sprite icon. So now, instead of that, we do serialize field. Nope. Serialize obol. I like the spell. There we go. And swap this from string to group select entry. Obviously, this breaks this thing down here. So let's just copy this. Bonk. Var. Swap that out. Entry dot title. And set that here. Ooh, no, I need normal entry. Okay. This is going to be a bit of a mess of a script, and I might have to break it up a little bit later. Or at least start putting in a bit more comments. That one's probably the smart option. But Unity compiles here. You can see how this is looking. Alright, so if I click that, not toggles. Okay. Yeah, so we can have this be Canada, America, and Mexico. I actually just give these the map icon. Pin, there we go, that's what we called it. Person pin circle 512 DP FFFF. Yeah, okay. All right, now the last thing we need to do is actually make a entry field. So we have these over here, which are largely the same, but I don't think it's going to be exactly what I want. So let's go ahead and we have our group select here. Let's duplicate this tab and put it under group select content. Right. We now have a very long list. Hold on a second. All right. This doesn't need to be 80. It can in fact be 40. There we go. What we'll also need is probably custom class for this instead of tab button. Oh, do we just want to use a toggle? That makes sense? No, because right. Okay. Let's just add another feature to our button. So we'll have a image active indicator. And then we'll do active indicator dot enabled equals value. Only if there is one. Because most buttons won't need it. However, this will let us do it. Wait, this needs to call that. Yeah, okay. So use active style is just going to be something that our group select tells things to do. And honestly, our WUI tab group will be doing that as well. Let's actually just go ahead and fill that in now. So for int I tab buttons dot wait. Tab buttons I dot use active style, and that will be I is equal to int value, just the index that we have selected. When is this from? Have group. New component use. I feel like there might be a few more things I need to rig up here. I have a lot of the structure of things, but a lot of it's just not plugged in yet because I was working a lot more on the visuals than the actually having everything work yet. The reason I wanted an active indicator image is because that way I can have a little knob that sits here on the left. And let's go ahead and actually just make that right now. So this has a layout group in it. Visuals are important. Alright, let's go ahead. Element 20. Right, okay. This needs to also be set here. So the reason that I'm setting this image enabled and not enabled is because if I do that, it doesn't move everything in this layout. But if I toggle this game object, it moves everything over. And that's just one of the adjustments that I'm doing for that. Realistically, that doesn't actually matter now that I have the layout stripper that I use now. But it's just the smart thing to do still. Oh, I should probably explain how my UI works. So we have a bunch of rounded edges and everything here. And what I'm actually doing for that is almost my entire menu is a single texture. And if I click into here, it's just these things here. So almost all of my UI is just this circle. It's just a circle that is 512 pixels X and Y. And all of these others are smaller, more unique instances of me needing a rounded edge. However, that only gives me one size of rounded edge. What I actually do is I adjust the pixels per unit multiplier here, and that gives me a bigger or smaller bevel on this menu. And it's how I've been doing literally everything in this menu. So like all of these things are just the circle, just pixels per unit 6 and stuff like that. And it has been an absolute marvel for giving me that kind of modern UI aesthetic. All right, let's give this what do you think we need here? Wait, selected doesn't need to be set. Selected is never used for this. Okay. So now we can go ahead, drag our image in here. Let's go ahead and rename that to active indicator. And this will just be group select entry. And let's go make a prefab of it. I guess this would be WUI group select entry. Prefab variant. It does append the word variant at the end, so I'll just go ahead and remove that. Let's go to our element library. So we have this. We need to actually populate it now. So here, we'll grab our group select and our group select entry, which is just a button. And now if everything was plugged in right when I did all this, we should be able to go ahead, click world menu, generate. Okay, we actually now have 2 pages that have things on them. So let me reorder that. Generate. Okay. Let's go ahead and hide the this page, but oh, this is the prototype one. Let's go ahead and hide the other page that we don't need. So toggles page. There we go. This is the only one that we have and that we need. Obviously, our sprite isn't actually resizing. So let's go ahead and fix that for this. Because if I disable that, it'll move things to the left. And we'll want to resize it for the size of this. Let's how do I want to do that? Nope, that's not it. We will disable min height and preferred height. Wait, no. Preferred height, I'll just set to a very large number, 9999. That means it fills the space that's available to it, but doesn't expand outward. Flexible is fills the space, but also forces an expansion of parent entries. So if I were to click flexible height and just start boom, 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 boom. Okay, well, actually, the current setup makes that not happen. But believe me, I have completely stopped using flexible width and height and am just using preferred width and height along with min. I'm actually surprised because I applied that to... Oh, here we go. There we go. This is obvious that how do we want to do this? Maybe 50 is a good size for this. Yeah. Function entry. Let me just revert on the other two. I think we might want a little bit of top and bottom padding for that. So let's give it 2 padding. 3. 3 will be good. Apply that to entry. Then this can have a preferred width of min width of 40. There we go. So it has a preferred width of 60, which I think means that if we expand this out, it'll resize. No. Well, this is the good sizing for this instance. If someone wants custom versions for it, they can absolutely go ahead and adjust things as they need to. But now, also, one of the things that you tend to get in these multi-selects is these entries are pushed over to the right. I'm not sure why, but it's very common. So I think we managed to do that. Let's find a... Oh, it really did just manually scroll and just let go at 64, huh? Actually, I'm curious about not force expanding. I think these are... I think this text here... Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. All right. I'm gonna be honest. I think this might look better without this padding, even if that's how a lot of these things tend to look with them. I'm gonna quickly go into play mode because I want to see if my hover color choices are at all usable. So let's walk up. Okay, yeah, it seems to be the right visual aesthetic for that. Now, obviously, they need to all do things. But let's go ahead and apply this prefab. I don't think there's much that I've changed here. So what's changed in countries? I don't think anything actually changed. Yeah, because if I hit that button again, it should look identical. Yeah. Okay, it's identical aside from the fact that there's another page that's being generated at the same time. Okay. So with that, actually, let's just go ahead and click on this. We'll give the countries list the map sprites as well. All right, took a little bit to figure itself out there, but there we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good group select prefab. Let's go ahead and get it working actually then. So when we instantiate an entry, we need to add the entry to the tab group. Which is just add tab. I don't think this needs to know a name. I'll drop that actually. It was going completely unused. So yeah. All right. Now let's. Oop, actually, crap. I needed those. Let's reopen them. Menu builder editor. Pop that here. And we tab. No, we group select. There we go. Drink some water. Oh, good stuff. Highly recommend water. All right, so we need to add the tab after it was instantiated, which the tab is just this entry. So we'll do we group select dot add tab. We entry. There we go. That appends this into this array here. Hydration. Yes, very much so. That puts that into the array here, but we need to tell it, we need to tell the tab itself to have this as a listener. So tab button dot add a binding listener be this. But this is only a runtime. In that case, should I have this initialized during init, or should I wait? Or not wait, should I have it done during the build process? The more that I can remove from the initialization process, the less chunky it is to try to load into the scene. How much do you charge for commissions? That is a great question. At the moment, I'm not really taking on more, mostly because I accidentally took on too many, and they all went way longer than I expected them to. So I'd feel kind of bad taking on some additional commissions at the moment. It changes dramatically based on the task, and I've found that the pricing I have been doing might not be ideal for my situation and my time management. So I will likely have to adjust how I handle that in the future, unfortunately. But an excellent question, and one that I continue asking to this day. Okay, so if we want this to increase in the price, or likely the price itself is largely based on how long I'll think a task will take to complete. So while I don't think I'll change the literal price, I really need to have a better understanding of how big a task might be, because I'm quite good at making things, because I am bad at time management, and I suddenly just invest far too much time into a thing. I know the value behind scripting and this kind of working increasing is totally understandable. Yeah, yeah, my biggest issue though is just I have no idea how long any task will take at this point. Because every time have made an assumption, even with a massive amount of buffer, I keep either going over or just completely overshooting, and it's done in a couple days. So I might need to come up with some kind of spreadsheet, or at least a consistent way of me analyzing a task that's being proposed to me and coming up with an actual amount of time that it might take to complete. Is a skill that I've not been the greatest at. Maybe a Trello. Well, I do have a lot of tools for taking notes and coming up with that kind of stuff. I just need to come up with a process for it, like an expectation of, oh, this feature requires networking. This feature requires some like large task that'll be appended into it, and those kind of things change as I get better at it. Like the more times I've implemented a thing, the faster it will be, because I know what the solution is. If I go into a project and I know everything that we are going to do in it, it is a week at absolute maximum. But if there's discovery, if there is process development that needs to happen for it, suddenly it takes a lot longer to come up with the actual thing that I'm doing. So for example, I'm making a UI system right now. I've actually gotten quite good at building UI systems for VR chat, or in general, because I've had so many projects that I've done it for as of late. However, one of the commission projects that I'm on is developing a e-reader for VR chat, essentially like a Kindle that you would have in your VR chat world. And that's a little bit of UI. There's a little bit of handling for the length of a label, because we're loading in a lot of text, so you have to flip through the page feature of the Text Mesh Pro, but those are all knowns. What was unknown was how long it would take to come up with a JSON standard for converting automatically EPUB files into a single string that can be loaded via the e-reader as like a string load in VR chat, and having the full cataloging system for referencing and importing all of these while not generating URLs at runtime. That's going to be sick. Yeah. We actually have a testable prototype now that is working really well. It's honestly at this point just clean up, adding in all of the settings on the settings page for it, and continuing to automatically convert these EPUBs. But my god, There were so many unknown unknowns. I know there's like a proper term for those kind of things, and I don't know what it would be, but there were so many things that we didn't know going into it. Um, which meant the time management for it is absolutely ballooned. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that I've been getting better at. But definitely need to reassess before handling additional tasks in the future. I used your clock system on my latest world memory experiment. You're very talented. One day when you're not packed with comms, I'd love to commission you. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds awesome. My clock's prefab is actually one thing that I'm, to this day, really surprised at how prolific it is. Like, it's free now, but back in the day, even when it was a strictly paid asset, I still did see it everywhere, and it was always really surprising to me, and it just got me a little excited whenever I saw, like, hey, it's my clocks! And, of course, it's, like, the one digital clock from that pack, and no one uses any of the others. But I'm really glad that people have been enjoying that set and playing around with it as much as people have. Said to make a horror world based off of it. Oh crap! Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Was Memory Experiment done for the Spookality? You forgot to submit. Oh, okay. I see. Well, congrats on finishing a project, even if it wasn't submitted. Finding a project to work on and completing it is absolutely the biggest step in doing anything. Being able to say, hey, I have this project, it's finished, look at it as a reference, or this is an example of my work, or hey, somebody please enjoy this thing I've created. Being able to say this thing is done is absolutely, it is the most wonderful part of any process. I will always stand by that. Rarely finished worlds, yeah. That one of my big issues is I keep building tools and systems. I don't build worlds, so everyone's like, "Oh, you should show off some of the worlds you made." It's like I've got like nothing. Everything's just a flat plane with a menu in it or something like that. Even then, that world isn't finished. But let me stop spamming the chat. It was nice talking to you. Ah, no worries. Great having you. I'm glad that you've been enjoying stuff. What was I doing? Oh, right. I was setting up the listener system for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go to our bindable. Here we go. Add listener. So this is going to, yeah, we're going to duplicate this here. And binding listener automation, and this is going to be, instead of adding to these data lists, which can't serialize over the build process, we will be appending it into an array. Actually, I think I'll do a few more tooling here. So we have our, okay, so finding targets, is that really the only place where it's used? The serialized field? Okay, well, where's my expansion utilities on that? Utility, append, okay. Let's do stack T contains, excuse me. All right, so we need to drop a lot of this actually. Oh, we actually don't need to return that. We need to return a bool. Just return false there. Otherwise, we will return source dot index. Oh wait, no, it's array dot index of source item does not equal -1. All right, so that will be our contains check for arrays. So then we're going to append in that. So equals binding targets dot append element. All right, so we're also going to have a remove function in here. This is a lot of just building out some array management tooling because we don't have lists in Udon. Granted, this doesn't really need to be custom array stuff, but might as well. Remove. Okay. So we can keep this check here. If source contains item is false, return source. Otherwise, what is the easy way to do this? You know what? Screw it. I don't actually need this feature. I don't need to bloat everything. We don't need a automation way of removing a listener for the builder process. Let me just go ahead and add binding listener automation. Just there. Right up here. Tab button. No. That's it. That's the layout. All right. So now I should have on binding value changed element int value. Active style that and binding callbacks. All right. Once Unity compiles here, I should be able to generate the menu. Go in here, pages, disable toggles, and if I hit play, I think I should be able to click these entries and have this thing appear and disappear. I think. All right, that's doing a whole lot of nothing. So let's figure out at what point in this step we need to start adding things. All right, so this has our binding targets of countries. On component use runs this one. Actually, wait. Group select. Group select is a WU tab group, and our WU tab group does on binding value change for an int. I don't think that's right. I think on binding value changed just runs yeah, because buttons just run it empty. So let's do that. Let's do buttons not index. Screw it. All right, I'll add one more utility feature here. Index of probably an int turn -1. There we go. It's just one slightly less code, so I'll write slightly more code. Excuse me. Tab buttons, covariant array conversion from WUI button to WUI bindable may cause runtime exception on write operation. Well, I don't actually worry about that. I guess it's because of the assertion that this element is a button. But yeah, that's fine actually. All right, I'll just put a log in here to make sure this is running. So debug log value changed int value on game object.name. Excuse me. All right. Okay. It's working. My highlight colors are bad. But this is in fact correctly selecting it. Oh, okay. That actually made our page system work as well. Awesome. I guess that was just one of the few things that wasn't properly implemented yet. This highlighting is awful, but I think I know why. I think it's because of the selected color entry. Excuse me. Let's... not 0.25. I want that to be 2.5. I think that's the right setup. So let's apply that to select entry and hit play. Actually, wait, normal color. How is this working? Oh, this is running into the block colors. I don't think. Actually, no. I think I do want that. Because the reason that, okay, the way I'm using this, this image color right here is the actual color that we use for everything. And everything here is a gradient on, all these colors are multiplied against the color in the image component. And I think, okay, the reason why we don't want to just have it be empty there is because the highlighted color is where we take the alpha value against it. So if this color up here is invisible, like if it has an alpha 0 and we want it to be slightly highlighted when we hover over it, well, we can't multiply anything against 0 to get a bigger number. So what we have to do is instead assert that this value is white at all times and modify our values here on the button. So what I'm going to do with that is let's see here. The normal color, leave that. Yeah, so that's 2.5. And let's do the same thing, but 50. Apply this into our select entry here. Because the color of these doesn't really matter. It just is a darker color than the one on top of it. So let's see how this looks. Okay, yeah. That is exactly the effect I was after. Let's speed up the fade duration. Maybe slow it down. Let's see what that's like. I actually kind of like the gentle slow fade. I mean, but half of a second is pretty quick to be calling it slow. But I think it looks good. It's unique. It's not the default value. And I think changing defaults on anything just makes it feel more unique in general. It's why if you have a specific set of post-processing that you use in your world, is just really hammers in like, oh, this is a world made by X because it has this kind of feel to it. And it's almost certainly just your post-processing settings. Let's go ahead and change that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Select entry. Yeah, that should be good. Let's try that out, and then we'll fix all the other buttons. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so honestly, I think for these we can just copy the same values I was using before. Because these serve a very similar purpose. We'll lock that on these. We'll go over to this here. What does it start as? 25, 40, and 50. Okay. So, 25, 40, and 50. And then we had 25 and 10. I know these settings are kind of behind me, but it's all the same numbers. I'm just copying them around. All right, so we'll apply to tab variant. I'm gonna copy the ones I've used for that. So 25 and 40. No, 50. All right. Let's see how that looks. It might not look as great on these because it's on a darker background, so we might have to change up the color that we use for it. Yeah, that's not nearly visible enough. Okay. So in that case, I think it will make a lot of sense to change up this. So let's go into here. Instead of having a normal and active color, we are going to have a normal and active float values. And those will just be the opacity. How do I want to do this? Yeah, I think we can just copy the current colors and then adjust there. So let's just go ahead and float. Instead of color, it'll be opacity. Oh god, the color fields. Okay, if I do colors, color block, return colors, just give me a color. There we go, color. What is the range for these? Are these 0 to 1 or are they 0 to 255? Well, this alpha right here is just written to 1, so I guess that answers it. Okay, so 0.25 and 0.5 will be our defaults. Actually, nope. We're going back. Okay, we're going to use the same colors that we were using earlier. It's probably smarter to just manage that in the prefab itself instead of having that delegated to the script. I think this works pretty well. But what I think we need to do with that then is no longer rely on this colors here. We're just going to set it to be the actual image's color. So we'll do we want a target graphic? I guess. Yeah, let's do that. Bar graphic equals button dot target graphic. If graphic, if I can type, there we go. Graphic dot color equals this. Oh, do that. There we go. Okay. And I think since we have a raw value here, we'll swap this from being black transparent to white transparent. Since we're multiplying that against real colors. Tab variance, yeah, let's do that. Can I disable the alpha field? Color usage, show alpha false. There we go. I knew that was a feature. Watching the VR right now reminds me I gotta update my Halloween costume. Man, I haven't actually done any avatar stuff here for a while. I wonder if I should end up doing something. I'm not even sure what I do, honestly. Apply the tab variant. Okay. Select entry. And are you here? You will do a... Actually, I think these should be completely transparent by default. Whereas these should have some transparency. There we go. That way you get the hover when you go over these, but you can see the differences between these easier. And then this one obviously still hasn't been fixed at all. Move all these to white. Disabled. Yeah, that's fine. Not that these will ever be disabled, but yeah. Selected, you need to be very minuscule. Selected. 3. Let's do 4 on this one and 2 on that one. This is a very, very thin transparency. Because since we're doing additive, like with white, it's not going to change much. I mean, it's going to change very quickly, very fast. Might make sense to not, but we'll try this out for now. We'll apply these into the circle variant. Oof. Stretching my neck here. Oof. All right, we're gonna have to change how selected is working on the, or our active style is working on this, because our active one is the one that's least visible. Our active style here. Oh crap, that's why I was doing the transparency originally. Oh, I missed that. I imported and Dr. Doom mask and a scarf onto my hub. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I don't even know what I'd do. Hmm. Okay, well, what other options do we have here? So instead of color tint, but I still want the on hover, but I just don't want any of the others. I could have both systems implemented, but or I could just use another system that I implemented. So you know how I have this button here, this little indicator for when stuff activates? We'll just apply that into the root prefab. So let's open this up. Active indicator. We will go ahead and add that to the base button. Discard changes. Reopen that. Go ahead and remove the custom one. Fix that reference. Save. Exit there. Go over to these where we don't actually care about it. And for our active indicator, this will ignore the layout and expand out like this. What is this set to? This is set to 4. Okay, let's go ahead and regenerate this. So that will give us a better indicator of when we're hovered over something by simply toggling that. We need to go to our root button object and write this reference here for our active indicator. I don't like these defaults. Yeah, should work fine. All right. Let's click into this and just kind of get a feel how that works. Oh, right. Okay. So on these, we need to change the active indicator to actually be real again. Where is this? This preview isn't working. There we go. Select. There we go. We'll do this. Width 400. And now I want the active indicator. Why is it set to this by default? This is not what I wanted it to be. Okay, do 20 by 20. 20 by 20 by 20. Uncheck that. There we go. So then we can reuse the same thing here in this one. Oh, it needs to be white. Was it white? Might have been white. These fields here might make sense to drop any margin on them. Yeah. Let's do that. Apply this to vertical. And these don't need an image then. Apply that to tab variant as well. You do need an image, so go back to being a circle. Okay, so that should let us go ahead and highlight that entire row with that word without it feeling like a button, since it's a section more than anything. Okay, and I can go to this one, toggle these. Oh, I need to set the background on that as well. Alright, so select entry, go back to being that. Alright. Let's see here. I think the next thing that we want to do is have our binding values actually write in immediately, because what you're seeing when I go into play mode is that all these pages are stacked on top of each other and all of them are visually selected, which isn't what we want. We want it to go with the default value of it. So these are all stacked until I tell it to render one or the other. All of these are indicated until I click one to be indicated. I think I'll fix that coloration though. Yeah, okay. I'll actually just swap these two colors. So pop that in there. Apply that to select entry, apply that to select entry, and that to select entry. These are also a bit dark, so let's go ahead and make this 20. All right, now let's go ahead and fix that auto binding. So we'll go into our button. Actually, I think we can just close a lot of things here. So we'll need the will be bindable and will be element. Will be bindable is where we actually handle all of the data binding. So on a knit, we'll do all this stuff, and we want to load default value. So People just have a function for that. Protected, protected virtual void. On default value loaded. We'll probably call this through a handler for what's it called? The VRC player data source, player data. We'll use a persistence. That's it. We'll use a handler for loading this through persistence eventually, but for right now, we're just loading in what is the existing value. It might make sense to just run this 1 second or 1 frame later, just to make sure everything's been initialized. It's probably fine. It might not be fine. Actually, we'll use the delay of on player data loaded. So on player data, no, it's on player restored. That's it. So if the player is not local, return, because we don't care. On player data loaded. On default value loaded. We'll solve it from default to initial value loaded. On player restored, it does run if there is no player data. So if a player's never like been here and saved any data before, it will still run, which works great for our purposes. The annoying thing for our purposes is I don't think on player restored runs if the game object is disabled. So we may have to have a player data loader thing that just knows all of our UI elements and informs everything right at the start. I should probably do that now while I'm thinking about it. It's kind of annoying. The funny thing about the system so far is I don't have a script yet for controlling the menu. The menu just controls itself with all of its separate components. Which means this might be the first reason I actually need to build a menu script. So let's just go ahead and make a Udon Sharp script GUI menu. Had to happen eventually. We will let Unity do all of its thinking here. Eventually. Unity? Unity, I believe in you. Oh, there we go, finally. So that, I can go ahead and open up GUI menu here. Tab this over to the side. There we go. Now we finally have the stuff. So put on behavior sync mode none. We want to have a public GUI bindable array. Bindables. Start. No. We want on player restored. For each bindables. Bindable. Bindable. There we go. We'll just do bindable dot on initial. Oh, this needs to be public. There we go. Autofill on initial value loaded. There we go. Now we need to populate this during the post-process scene. Easy enough. So we'll static void on post-process scene. Post-process scene of negative. Let's have a -5 because a lot of my automation is probably going to be at -10, and we want this to run after all of these have been instantiated. Now I need to keep this out of the build. So if Unity editor and not compiler udon sharp. And we'll copy that for our post-processing right here. Oh, I might have to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I didn't manage to mute in time for that. Alright, so we'll do find objects by type for GUI menu. We will include inactive and won't care about sorting. Then for each menu menu.bindables equals menu.transform get components in children. Oh, it's the first one. We bindable and pass it in true. All right, so that should run on initial value loaded for everything, honestly. We'll just do a debug log to test that. Initial value loaded for game object. And of course, we can go ahead and actually add our GUI menu script to the world menu object. Bonk. Alright, so this array should populate when we hit play after a couple seconds. Alright, that has all 12 entries, and we logged that 12 times. Perfect. We can go ahead and remove that log then. All right, so now we need to figure out how we want to handle the actual binding for this. So we're doing all of the data binding correctly, but we need to actually bind it to something that is part of the player data, the persistence for VR chat. So to do that, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need a string that represents said data, but we're also going to need to have ways of loading in a value without having callbacks, which is some of these might want to call back and some of them won't. So like obviously we want to load in the correct page at the right time, but we don't want to like write a value because we loaded a value. Like that would be a bit weird. So I think we might just want to handle it bespokely per implementation. So let's go ahead and have a public string binding path. And we'll set that during our automation. So go to our menu builder. I'll go to our menu builder editor. There we go. What would be the smartest way to automate the binding path for things? I think we just should concatenate in the path of titles to the element. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, so we may have to do it down here. Element dot binding. Ooh. Oh right, this is a bindable. Fully bindable equals null. Fully bindable. I guess we need to move this up. Okay, so bindable equals that. Bindable dot. Actually, we could probably just set it there. Don't even need to do that. So, fully element dot binding path will equal. This will be a string dot concat of okay, we're going to start with name of GUI menu, just so we get everything over to ours. Then we want the tab title followed by the page title followed by the element title. Tab.title, page.title, element title. And I think after each of those, we also want to do a slash. And I think that will be our binding path. So now, on initial value loaded, we'll have a switch statement for the type that it's got. Let's do a switch for underscore binding type. And I'll just copy my arrow log from down here. None will basically do nothing. Float, though, will be... let's see. Player data dot get float. Yeah. This wants a player. Okay. Do I have... all right. We'll still need references for that. So, protected VRC player API local player. And we'll cache that during the initialization. So, networking local player. Binding path. And that'll be float value equals. I'll basically do that in all these places, but int value and bool value. Instead of get float, it'll be get int and get bool. Now, I probably should have an actual generic on value changed. Because I've mostly just been doing run binding callbacks. So for example, if I want to go to my drop down here, so on component used, writes the value and then runs callbacks. It doesn't have a, oh, I need to fix this. Unvalid. There we go. It doesn't have a understanding of when it's been given a new value and to display it. So do I want to just have, maybe I should. I'll avoid set in, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can go ahead and do this. The int value equals value, then run binding callbacks. And we'll do float. And cool. And I want a protected virtual void on value changed. And on value changed will be exclusively for handling the visuals of an inspector. Actually, on value change shouldn't be the right name for that then. We'll just do apply current visuals. Alright, so instead of doing those, we'll do set int. And there we go. Button doesn't bind to any numerical value. Group select is a tab. Slider is a float, so we go down here. Display slider value. Okay, yeah, that's where I'll be using my apply current visuals. Alright, we'll do set float. Apply current visuals. Okay, so if I want to what is the best way to handle that, actually? Well, before I forget about all of them, let's just do set bool, toggle component is on. Close that there. Okay, actually, I have a different idea. On value set without notify. So this does none of the running callbacks, but it's just when the thing needs to update its visuals correctly. On value set without notify, the display slider value low value. And this is going to be set on initial value loaded. Excuse me. So now, if we go to go to our toggle. Yeah. On initial on value set without notify. There we go. So now we can do toggle component dot set is on without notify, and just pass in bool value. We got that for the toggle. We'll do the slider as well. Slider component dot set value without notify, float value. I have this one here because I kind of faked how a slider works because I wanted a different visual for it. But for the most part, it's still a slider. Drop down. So on values set without notify. Drop down component set value without notify. This will be int value. I think tab group is the only one that I still need to do. Set int will be tab buttons dot index of element. We can get rid of that log. We know that's working. So we'll do on value set dot notify, and we'll do. I'll see if we can just do the same loop. But we also want tab groups in particular when they do their initial load. So on in default, what was that called? What was this function I made like 5 minutes ago? On initial value loaded. There we go. After this is done, we do want the tab group to apply the value. So I think the easiest way to do that is just to do on binding value changed, and then yeah, okay, we'll do that. On binding value change, I'm gonna do tab buttons dot index of wait, no, okay. Okay. What I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna do another extension method. This one's even stupider. This will just be get. This will return type T and ask for an int index. How do I return a null T? Is this a thing you can do? I have no idea if that's going to be exposed to Udon. Index equals -1. This is absolutely not exposed to Udon. I'm certain of it. All right. This is very stupid. But it might make things slightly easier for me because it will allow me to pass an index into a array that might possibly be -1. And if so, it returns null instead of erroring. A button event will change. So here we'll do our tab buttons dot get int value. Let's see if this compiles for Udon. I have no idea if that new parameter will. It probably won't. It's compiling right now. Okay, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of. All right, if I clear, compile, double click. Yep, it brings us to our new T. Not convert expression type null to return type T. I'm not sure I can do this, actually. Curses. Alright, I will have to write one more line of code. There, that's literally it. That was the whole thing that I was trying to get around. It's just doing that. Sometimes it really is just easier to do the easier option. Who would have known? Alright, so back in Unity, when everything's done compiling, we should be able to hit play, and it should load no pages, I think. I think that's what will happen. I think no pages should be visible here. Nope, everything broke. Alright, why is that actually? The VM encountered an error. Wait. Player data key was invalid. Oh, if it's an invalid key, it doesn't just not return something? Oh, right. They want you to do try get. Right. That makes sense. We are at the hour here, so I'm gonna wrap this up here by just doing a little bit more. If I do like another 5 lines, I should have this fully working with persistence. So this should load in all of the values. But what we want to do is also write all of the values. So we'll do player data dot set int binding path int value. and we'll do that for float and float value. And we'll do that for set bool and bool value. All right. So now this will load up. I have this tab here called Client Sim Player Data. Once Unity's done compiling, I can swap over to it. And this will show us all of the player data that exists at any given time in the scene. Right now, there's none. So if I hit play, we should start getting some once I start pushing some buttons. I think. Alright, things still errored. What's erroring? He was invalid. Wait. What's the invalid key? Binding path blank. Oh, is it because I never regenerated? Alright, let's try now. The system's only automated when you activate it, which isn't very automated. These ones still broke. Which ones is it? Okay, so these tabs need to be told their binding path as well. Simple enough. We just need to go to these buttons. So it's that button and this button, both of which need to be told what to do. Alright, so movie menu, tab title. Honestly, I think that's it there. So for this one, do tab title, and then page title. And I think that's all of the bindings that need to be written. Okay. In that case, let's head back to Unity and give her another shot. Regenerate. I guess I can quickly check. Hey, does this have a binding path? This does not have a binding path yet. Where is this being instantiated? Alright, where all are Wooey buttons being made and used? We don't care about this binding here, because that isn't bound to anything its parent object is. Tab button, add page, page group, page button has the binding path, but our tab, oh, whoops. Heh. I successfully copy-pasted code and didn't adjust it. Oopsie poopsie. Alright. This should be the last thing we have to do. Yeah, Wooey menu settings, not toggles. Wooey menu settings, toggles. Okay. I think that's working. Alright, let's hit play and see if we end up getting any player data written here. Well, we've errored again. That's because these tab groups... Oh, these tab groups need it. Oh, the tab groups need it, not the buttons. Right. Okay, that's on me. GUI page dot tab group. Wait, no. Page group tab container. All right, so this needs to go here. Tab group there. Because it's not the tabs that make the car go. It's something else entirely. So I'll need to have another dev troubleshooting in the background as you program. Understandable. We're past 6, so I should be calling it here. Because I do plan on getting some free food that our apartment is putting on for a an autumn event. But here shortly. Oh wait, no, that's page group. I don't want to do that. This needs for each page. Nope. Okay, so tab group, add page. Okay. That's it. All right. Let's see. Tab group. That feels stupid. Tab group page dot tab group. Okay. Tab group page binding will be that, followed by this tab group. Tab group button, tab page, tab group page. All right, we don't care about the page title for that. Care about the tab title. String tab title equals tab group. Okay, so we're writing the binding for the root page tabs. We also need a binding for the pages that are on the tabs. So that will have to go to, let's see, this button is being instantiated into tab group page here. But we care about the page group that's in this one. So that's the binding path here. And then we append that on. I think that is all of our bindings. I think. Look, it's almost done, I swear. It is literally this last bit, and I'll be done for the day. Let's go ahead, clear out all that. Think. Generate. Tab group. What do you have? You have a tab group here, which has GUI menu tab group. Perfect. So if I click into these pages, this page has a tab group with GUI menu tab group settings. All right. So I should be able to hit play and nothing will error. Right? Probably. All right, nothing errored. We have 3 values set here immediately. The not toggles. What is the full value there? It won't let me see. The tab group and tab group settings. So I should be able to click that. All right. So changing this changes this value down here. So if I select the last one, you'll see that we get this one set to 1. And if I set the first one, see we got it set to 0. Then I can drag the slider around and you see we have a new value here. We menu slider toggles, custom slider presumably. And then toggle for the poster, on and off. Toggle for this toggle here. All right. And then countries toggle. All right. I'm not sure why we're only getting some visual changes on the second time that I press these. But it's very consistent. If I go to our group select, which is a tab group, and look at our data handling here, we are only getting on values set without notifies when this is happening, but it's also on binding value changed. Yeah, okay. This is something I'll put in a note to check in another time, but I will have to actually properly start departing here. All right. Today's actually gone really well. I feel like I've gotten a lot done here, and there's a clear idea of where we're going to be going with this, and I can actually see it being done. A lot of the feature is just adding in the individual components. Almost all of the structure of everything is there, and that's the big one. That's the one that I've kept rebuilding. But yeah, thanks everyone for stopping by. I look forward to catching you next week. Maybe I'll even have the system done by then. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you all again. Take care.